Hey, whoa. Welcome to this weekend's live stream. Sorry. Let's try that again. Welcome. Am I in focus? Welcome to today's live stream, or this weekend's live stream. Got a new chair. Well, it's not new. I just moved my office chair here because the armchair that I had was not quite right for this space. Just took up too much space. So, but unfortunately, this chair is a little bit squeaky. Hopefully, the mic doesn't pick up too much of that. But yeah, so we are going to tie and chat today. Welcome if you're new. My name is Brad, and I tie classic Atlantic salmon flies. There's not much more than that. So today we are going to be tying the Black Doctor by Wright, as described by Kelson, I believe. As usual, I'm looking up over here because I have my monitor up. Yeah, let's get started. If you're new, welcome again. And if you want to check out more of my work, you can check out my Instagram at justwondering.brad. And if you want to purchase any of the flies that you see me tie on the stream, whatever is in stock is over on the Etsy shop, Studio 1213. Stock's kind of low right now, but and actually, I think we are at that point of the year where I can't guarantee you will receive it by Christmas. Maybe. The Etsy shop will be closed during the holiday. But other than that, those are all the announcements I got. I did see that we, since I took the hiatus back in September, we have gotten quite a few new people, so quite a few new subscribers on YouTube and a lot of new followers on Instagram. So welcome, and let's get started. So I hope everybody's weekend is going well and that everybody had a good week. Sorry, let me bring you into the action here. Focus. Do apologize. I'm wearing a little bit of a busier shirt than normal, but it seemed appropriate. Does seem like it's flannel weather, eh? Center that a little bit. Definitely flannel weather. I have changed my setup just a little bit, so if it looks like I am lost or don't know what I'm doing, it's because I have put stuff in new places around my desk. Let me clarify. And I'm going to be searching for stuff. But I am trying out a more, I guess, efficient, I guess you could call it, layout in terms of my materials and tools and such. Just to make the tying process a little bit more streamlined. It's always one of those things. Anybody who ties knows that trying to get your setup just perfect is like 50% of the game. And mine is ever evolving, especially since we moved house back at the end of October, early November. It's kind of exciting having a brand new house as like a blank canvas to work on. It is a little bit annoying though because you pack stuff away and then you got to unpack it and then you don't know where it went. So, and yes, I'm still referring to my little tin of golden pheasant crusts. I still have not found those. I did straighten some more, so we do have more golden pheasant crusts to work with. However, I still have not found the several dozen that I kept in a tin. And it's probably just one of those things where they ended up in a box, and that box ended up in a closet, and we haven't opened it yet. And we may never open it. But there we are. So, yes, moving is always fun. And I realize I'm complaining. But I'm getting to that stage in life where I'm looking forward to not having to move for decades, not just years. Let me trim this just so it's out of my way a little bit. As usual, we're using antique tinsel from Tinsel Training Company. Back when they used to do like the sample packs, they give you I think like 10 yards of like 5 or 6. No, sorry, 10 different vintage tinsels. Unfortunately, when they moved their shop from New York City to California, because I think the original proprietor may have passed away. Don't quote me on that. When Tinsel Training Company moved from New York City to California, unfortunately, they stopped offering. They really stopped selling through their website. So they don't have the same offerings as they used to. I think they've stopped offering the tinsel variety pack for fly tires, which is a shame because they were really nice tinsels, really useful tinsels. And now that they no longer offer them, I'm glad I got in it when I did. Do try to tag them in my posts on Instagram, and in the hopes that one day I might offer that variety pack again, and then let me know because yeah, like I said, good tinsels, very nice tinsels. I'd say something like they just don't make them like they used to, but you know when you consider like the variety of tinsels that you actually end up using on these flies, um, there's only really, I say only, but when you think about it, you need essentially fine oval, fine medium oval, both silver and gold, and then you need like a fine flat and a medium flat in both silver and gold. So that's what 8 different tinsels, and then I mean like a gold embossed and a silver embossed and like medium and or fine, but you don't probably need both. Uh, and that'll do you for like 95% of all classic Atlantic standard flies. And you could probably get away with even less than that because I mean I don't have a medium flat gold right now because I just never use it. Some of them call for lace, and you could use medium, oval for that. That's fine. yeah, I mean, having a variety is nice because I can change it up. Like today, instead of medium oval, I'm going to be using silver lace for the body. So I guess you could really kind of mix things up, but you don't need a whole lot of tinsels to tie these flies. Um, the variety is nice though. Let me go grab a crest. So I do want to just show you. This is how I probably can't see it too well, but it's how I flatten my crusts, shape them. Uh, pretty simple, pretty standard. Just a flat plate. This is uh, this is like a steel plate that you use for like magnetic, like calendar or reminders. It also doubles as a whiteboard. Uh, just something flat. You soak your crust. You kind of put your crust down on the plate, and once they dry, they should be dry pretty flat or straight. Um, so um, again, not my favorite method, or not my favorite crest to use, but they'll do. Especially when you get down to like the last, a well picked over golden pheasant head. Um, you might need to. So definitely a good trick to know. Uh, but they will lose their shape, eventually. So as I've said before, I try to use naturally straight crests just because they will lose their shape, or they are less likely to lose their shape over time. And if you live in a particularly humid place, crests may not ever keep their shape to begin with. So um, so your mileage may vary. If you live in a very dry place, you might be okay. But um, and I think every crest, pretty much every crest that I've ever used, it's required a little bit of shaping, usually a little bit of flattening, just especially in the tie-in area. But the more shaping that you do to these crests, the less likely they are to hold their shape, over in the long haul. Now, if you accept that, you know, natural materials, regardless whether it's a crest or a tail or a wing, will hold their shape, in the long run, then then you're probably setting yourself up for success. Because let's face it, natural materials will settle over time, particularly wings. Uh, but again, using naturally straight materials does help. And I know I go on about it, but it's true. Um, I think one of the best examples is the fly that I've used as my logo. So the Claret Pirate, as I've named it, it was a freestyle fly that I designed off, basically inspired by the Bronze Pirate. Um, but in the picture that I took, which I use as my logo, which in the stream announcements and as the thumbnail for these streams, um, kind of these beautiful cascading crests. Well, now 17 years down the line, I think, that fly has gone from being kind of like a very nice, kind of pleasing, nicely arched wing to being very flat, um, as the wings have shifted. So not quite as pleasing, although it's still a nice fly. Um, those crests have definitely changed their curvature over the like I said, intervening 17 years. So. So one trick for tying in little feathers that were that are being used for veilings and things is one, leave a lot of the fluff at the base, and two is to gently wet them down with a little bit of water or saliva and just kind of stick them together like this. And that just makes them tying them in a little bit easier. You have a little less, you have fewer fibers flying around, and you can actually see where, like, the orientation of the stem, which may be a little bit more difficult if it's just. Maybe a little too much. But yeah, if you have these fibers flying around, sticking them together with a little bit of water or saliva just helps make sure that when you tie it in, they all kind of go in together as a as a you know an actual I guess unit. Is that the way to describe it? But yeah, you don't want to introduce any additional spread. You know, get them all to tie in to go straight. Mm. It's not quite sitting. Where I want it. It's better. Just a few stray fibers there. Sorry, I forget my fingers on the way. Okay. I will say this style of tail veiling is kind of my least favorite. I do find these small feathers to be fiddly, probably just like everyone else, but they are commonly called for. So here we are. Well, I also notice I'm a little bit jittery. Holy crap! Um, I had an iced coffee right before, or while I was waiting for the stream to start. I think it's making me a little bit jittery. um, all right, it's going to be a good day. It's actually going to be a little bit of a short day because black doctors, doctor flies in general, tend to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So this will probably not be a terribly long stream, but you know, and you all have seen me tie this style of fly before, so I'm not going to do too much talking through technique. Um, unless people have questions. But just gonna make sure everything's right on top of the hook. All right. So this has a red wool butt. I am going to sub um, uh, red uh, mohair. Sorry, lost my train of thought. I'm going to sub red mohair because it is a finer texture than wool, and this is only a 3/0 hook. So I find on 3/0 hooks, 3/0 and smaller, kind of like the really coarse stuff can look a little bit out of proportion. Um, if that's something you care about. Uh, so I find, in general, things like mohair is better than wool. Um, uh, Angora goat is a good, slightly finer substitute for things like seal. Um, Although, depending on how fine your seal is, you can probably get away with seal dubbing if you. I'm not going to need this much. I'm going to need like 3 reps max. Um, and since that ended up just a little bit more bushy than I like, but give it a bit of trim. And again, we're going to use the silver lace for the rib. As usual, we're going to tie it in along the back of the hook. So the side facing away from me. So again, mentioned this before, but if you're new to the stream, we try to tie everything in on the horizontal plane rather than the vertical plane. And that hides any additional bulk that might be generated from tying materials in. Because let's face it, when you're viewing the fly you're always going to be viewing the fly from the side. So if there's a bump or a lump in the body, particularly since this is a floss body, you're more likely to see that bump in the body if it's horizontal or occurs in the horizontal plane, but if it or vertical plane rather, but if it occurs in the horizontal plane, you're less likely to see it. So that is a trick for managing tie-in, the bumps and the bulk that happen at tie-in points. And so we are just going to run our thread all the way forward in some flat wraps, or mostly flat wraps. So always untwisting our thread as we go. Supporting the hook as we need to. All right, so we got that tinsel bound all the way down to the head of the fly. Oop, not quite. And we're actually going to tie the body material, which is just black silk. This is Lagarten French silk, uh, kind of my normal. Don't know what they did to their spools, but their spools have been getting worse and worse and worse. Right. Now you notice this has a body hackle, and you notice I did not tie it in. And that's because I'm actually going to do the trick where you use the body silk floss to tie in the body hackle. So we're going to tie in the silk, and then we're going to prep our hackle. Just wind our thread to the front, secure the floss while we. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick where on the hackle I want to tie it in, because we will fold the hackle once it's on the fly, which is what we normally do when we're tying in a vise. If I were tying in hand, I would fold the hackle prior to putting it on. Now, I do get a lot of questions about whether or not I use gloves for winding silk, and the answer is no. You don't need to wear gloves for handling silks or winging material if you have clean hands. I did wash my hands right before the stream started. And if your hands are clean, you don't need gloves. Now, if your hands are very rough, it is winter time. If your hands are very rough, you may want to wear gloves. Just get those like cotton gloves or whatever. Certainly can use those to cover your hands if it's very rough. I do, or you can use like one of those pumice stones just to smooth out your hands. Those certainly work really well. And I do have one of those, but I have not needed to use one, although my hands probably are a little bit rough for this. Not having any problems. I did catch something. Okay. We're going to just wind right down to the butt, and then we're going to start winding forward again. And just smooth side by side and very flat wraps. That's the key. You want everything to be flat. You don't want any twist. If you want a nice smooth body, you don't want any twist. Now, I have in the past added twist to silk bodies because I do enjoy having just that little bit of texture that adds, but completely not necessary. It is an extra step. I'm not doing it today. All right, so I'm going to just add a little extra weight to the silk, just so it doesn't unwind itself. I'm going to prep my hackle, and we're going to tie it in approximately 20% down the way of the hook. And the reason why we're going to do 20% instead of 1/4, it's pretty subtle, but that's because I'm going to tie the hackle on the back side of the hook so that when I start wrapping, it appears on the bottom of the hook. Again, we're managing the appearance of tie-in points by tying things in the horizontal plane. So placing the hackle there. And because, so I find that using the silk, the body silk to tie in hackles is actually really successful because, and I think it's because the silk is so flat, it goes on so flat. Um, it has a lot of contact with the hackle tip, and so there's a lot of friction there, so it holds it really, really well. So I've never had a problem with a hackle tied on in this manner coming off or pulling out from under the silk. Um, there's a little bit of a bump at the point where I tied in the gut, but no, it's pretty typical. Actually, I'm gonna unwind one more. So I need to leave space because there is a dubbed red wool head. Of course, we're using mohair. So I do need to leave space at the head of the fly. It's that. So now we have our hackle tied in using the tying silk, and our rib, which we're going to start. So we're going to do one turn. And then because we tied it in the back, we're going to go right over the top and then just keep winding. So I'm just going to make sure they are somewhat evenly spaced out here. Not quite right. Because this is lace, I do want to make sure it remains twisted, so I'm giving it a slight twist every time I wrap it. There we go. I want the lace to tie off at the back side of the hook, and then just slightly roll underneath. And that helps add a little bit of bulk underneath the hook. That just makes the head symmetrical once you go to tie, or tie the head. And then we're just going to fold our hackle. Just pulling. You don't even have to like fully fold all of the fibers. Just enough so that they don't get caught under the rachis, the stem of the hackle going the wrong way. That's kind of the big thing, right? So we're just following the back side of that lace with the stem of the hackle. And that leads us right up to the front of the fly. We're just going to tie that in. One wrap. Two wraps. Wax our thread as usual. secure everything. Let's trim hackle and the rib. Bind these down. A couple turns of wax thread. Come back to the tying point. A little more wax. Then add our J hackle. And then I think that'll be it for today because that's the body. Let's see. Some nice Eurasian J here. Question always with J is it long enough? J is a little bit tough to find in sizes. So this is a 3/0 hook, which means it's not too terribly large. I find that real Eurasian J usually ties up to size 3/0. So this is about it. But as you can see, I just stripped off the side that didn't have the nice blue bars. Just gonna wrap as many turns as I can get out of it, or I think I can get out of it. And again, tie off. Just want to tie it off. Oops, sorry. Trim everything. And it looks like a mess. It's because it is. It will all so that was a pretty good length J feather, or in terms of its fibers, its barbs. But you don't need a whole lot of it. So, and I know like very full throat hackles are kind of a big thing, or were a big thing, have become a big thing in modern classic Atlantic salmon fly tying. But you really don't need a whole lot of J, because the color and the barring is just so striking. So that is the body of the very classic Black Doctor. This one is probably one of the Black Doctor patterns I see least. I generally you'll frequently see the one with the claret body hackle, and I believe that one's from like Francis or something. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can look. Or Hardy, probably not Hardy. But anyway, you commonly see the one with the claret body hackle. So the blue body hackle is a little bit less common. It has a different wing as well, which will be fun. But we are going to do the wing next week. We'll finish the fly as usual. This will be a 2-part fly. We'll finish the fly next week. So just a short little stream today. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next week when we finish it. As always, if you want to see more of my work, check out the Instagram at justwondering.brad. And if you want to purchase these flies and help support the channel, because everything, all the money that comes from the Etsy shop goes back into improving the stream, and the video quality and the sound quality and the lighting, and also just helps kind of make this hobby a self-funding hobby, so that I can continue to share it and go to shows and that sort of thing. Speaking of shows, before I forget, speaking of shows, I am thinking of doing the Maryland show. I believe it's at Towson University. I've never been to that show. So if you've been to that show, if you've been to the Maryland fly fishing show, please let me know how it is. Um, you know, are there good crowds? I realize that this year is a little bit of a weird year. 2022 is when it'll be, just because of the pandemic. But I've been thinking about doing it. I haven't done a show in a long time, so I think this would be a good show to get back into it. But let me know how it is, because I've never been to it. So anyway, thanks for hanging out this weekend. Thanks. Sorry for the shorter stream, but again, this isn't a very complex fly in terms of the body. The wing is a little different, so we'll talk about it next week. So have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good week, and I'll see you next weekend. Thanks. Bye.